Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Mark St.cyr about The Menu, which is streaming now on HBO Max in the US, Canada, and the UK. It's available on Disney+. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Petey. It's a good time to be here.
I mean, you know what I was telling you before we started? I love this movie. So many questions and everything. I mean, did it read like a horror movie? Did it read like a thriller? Like, what can you tell me about the first read-through of this? Is it kind of like what is going on? Was that your basically reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, you read so many scripts as an actor, and some of them are really great and some of them are fine. This was the first script I'd read all year, and it came in August. The first script I read all year where I could not put it down. I was busy. I didn't have enough time to read it. I should have been doing other things. And I was like, I really need to know what's going to happen in this script. And that's what made me want to audition for it. Because there's a lot of stuff you audition for. You're like, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let's see. It has promise. This was a no-brainer. You were compelled from the moment that they started getting into the ship.
Is it exciting being part of a movie where, because I feel like the horror genre is so elevated and so big these days, Mark, because of the fact that you have like the non-traditional horror tropes and the traditional horror tropes in one with this movie, right? Where it does have some of the freaky, maybe not full out jump scares, but it's got some of the traditional horror elements, but it's got a lot of like the head games and like people that are scary and why is he doing this? Did you see that balance as well when you were filming this?
Oh yeah. I was telling someone recently that even in the way that actors would do scenes, they would sometimes lean on the extremes of one tone of the movie. So Rafe, for example, I would watch him do the Taco Tuesday monologue over and over and over again. And I think it was like maybe somewhere around take 5 where he did the it was Taco Night. Yeah. Taco Tuesday. He did not do this like movement for most of them, but then he just threw that in and I was like, wow, where am I? What is happening? And I think that's the joy of the movie is people were putting out those big kind of strange, disturbing, but funny moments sprinkled out throughout the performance. And then our director, Mark, and his editor just get to pick, we want to go a little bit weirder here. We're going to be a little more grounded here, a little bit more like unsettling here, a little bit funnier here. The script gave you opportunity to do stuff like that all the time.
What did you guys call yourself, like the three, like did you call yourselves like the tech bros or like was there like a term? Because it's funny because when I talk about this with my friends, they just refer to you guys as the tech bros and like the tech guys. You know what I mean? But was there anything you were like referring to yourself as, or not really? Just
absolutely. I mean, we didn't think of each other as humans sometimes. we were the bros.
Yeah, the bros.
We were the tech bros.
The tech bros. Okay, perfect.
Sometimes we would amp up that bro energy, and sometimes we would treat each other like humans in a dire situation. But yeah, we were definitely repping the tech bros.
Is it a cool feeling to know how? Because it goes into theaters, everyone talks about it, then it gets all this buzz about like award nominations, everything. It's really cool to like, for it to be able, like people could just stream it now, like on HBO Max. So that's a cool feeling, right? That like it does the theaters really? And people are able to see it anytime they want, basically, on HBO Max, Disney Plus in Canada, and it's cool, right?
It's really cool. It's kind of unheard of, and I remember whenever it hit theaters, I was getting a lot of attention from friends and family, extended friends, people that have known me. But when it hit HBO in America, that was a whole new level of awareness. And to have them be so back to back, the movie came out in November, and for it to already be January and people are just talking about it and chirping about it and getting excited. It's a really exciting, I think, new way of releasing movies that I think people are digging.
Hey, Mark, I have to tell you something.
Yeah,
I have not stopped craving a cheeseburger after watching this movie. No, it's insane. I can't get cheeseburgers out of my mind, Mark. I'm telling you.
I've started cooking cheeseburgers not like 2 weeks ago, and I've been cooking them like every day.
But it's crazy to think about that. And I heard, I think it's Herbs. There's like a restaurant that had a menu cheeseburger on their menu, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's based off the movie. They make it look a lot like the movie. I've not had it yet, but I've heard other members of the cast have had it. I
But
think
the impact of that is insane, right? Like you don't even think about that, right? Where like how many cheeseburgers do you think have been purchased after watching the menu? Probably a lot.
that's probably a lot. Like the stock, I should have bought Shake Shack or something right before the movie came out. Yeah, dang.
Yeah, no, it is. What would you say is your favorite thing about being part of a project like this that plays the psychological game, but also has the horror elements, but it's a very unique kind of concept? In the end, that it feels like one big movie scene in a lot of ways because you're in the same setting the whole thing. What was your favorite part about filming the movie?
I would say my favorite part about filming the movie has to be just the titans I got to share the screen with. I
Oh
mean,
my god!
watching Ray Fiennes deliver a masterclass of monologues day after day after day was just, I mean, front row tickets. I would have paid so much to be there, and instead I was getting paid to be there. So that was pretty incredible. And I used to really look up to John Leguizamo as a kid. I remember it was Romeo and Juliet, and he did. Oh my gosh, the other Moulin Rouge, like he had all these great dynamic performances. So seeing him in person and getting to interact with him and crack jokes with him, I mean, it felt like I'd entered the league, you know, like I got drafted to the NBA and suddenly I'm playing with LeBron. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, no, it was like school, right? Like the school of Ray Fiennes, basically, that you got
Absolutely.
a chance to. Okay.
Absolutely. He was putting on a master class, man. Absolutely.
Okay, so like Jeremy's Mess. I mean, like points of no return in movies, right? I mean, that's the closest thing to one, right? Where that happens, and you're all kind of like, it's over. You know what I mean?
Nobody in the audience, it's no one sees it coming.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're talking about it right now, and I still don't think they're going to see it coming.
Yeah. Oh, I was watching it with a bunch of people, and we were all like literally two people went, "Oh."
Yes.
Like, oh, like
Yeah.
literally.
Absolutely.
You can make a symphony with all the sounds from that, right?
Yeah, it was very meta because we're having that same experience as the restaurant goers.
Yeah.
and I think it's just like it puts the audience and the restaurant goers like in sync in that moment. Everybody's like, oh, we're in this together. What is going on? What is happening? Where are we? How did we get here?
What was it like seeing those things in the script? Because I know that some of you got the script in advance, right? Like, did you you got the copy so you're able to see it? But those kind of like point of no returns, those big kind of parts of the menu that just like everything's kind of raised stake wise. I mean, what was that like kind of reading it compared to like going and shooting it? I'm just curious about that.
I would say that reading it and your mind interprets it as general chaos,
Yeah.
you know? But when you're there, there's this underlying desire to want everything to be normal. Like no one wants to be in an earthquake. No one wants to be in a life and death situation. So there was our part of our characters' minds that are just working to normalize something that is clearly not normal.
It's interesting too because you start as an audience member playing detective where you're like, there's a common thread here. Like everyone in here, including the tech bros, shout out to the tech bros. You're all like, you're all either like bad people or you've done something specifically that chef thinks is bad, right? So you're kind of like putting the pieces together, right? You know, the tortillas end up kind of giving us a lot of that meat and potatoes, right, for the detective, for the case.
Yeah,
right?
the tortillas are definitely a reveal, aren't they? Tortillas deliciosas.
You had a really great role in this movie. Again, it's one of those things. What do they call it when you think it's like you remember it? Have you ever heard where like it was online where people like with Jaws, we're gonna need a bigger boat, or like ET phone home, but it's actually, you know what I'm talking about? Do you say
a bigger boat?
Yeah, but then it's actually not that apparently, or like ET phone home is actually ET home phone. Have you ever seen those before?
Yeah,
like
would you call it like a red herring or like a misdirection?
Yes. So you say though, right? We kept you open during COVID, right? That's the line you say? Is that what you say word for word?
I think my buddy says that. I think Rob says that, but
someone says that.
Yeah, we kept you open during COVID. I don't know if we can say this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, was it also crazy to see that your storyline, because it was like storylines within storylines, right? Because that whole thing happens with your boss, with the wings, and you're just everything. Was it cool to like have a storyline that like the Tech Bro storyline ties everything together. Like it's kind of one of the first reasons why the chef goes crazy, right? You know what I mean? If you think about it, what's that like being part of a pivotal part of the story specifically?
Well, you as an actor, you're like just chomping at the bit to get to play it. But also, I would say, what's crazy? You talk about all the multiple storylines going on in this movie. I've seen the movie maybe 3 or 4 times. Yeah. Every time I see it, I see or hear something new. And I'm kind of like, wait, I was there. I was there for 2 months. I saw everything.
I gotta go back. I've watched it twice, but like every time I watch it, I order a cheeseburger after. So I don't know. It's dangerous. His face though, like Rave's face, like we could do a cheeseburger. Like that was like one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a movie, right? Like it's so good.
Romantic cheeseburger I've ever seen. I tell you what,
just the fries, the French fries look great too.
Your desire to live. That's what that cheeseburger does. It makes you think that life was worth having on planet Earth.
It was just a really good tie-in too. It's also funny how what she's gonna say, what she's in the mood for, because you see the photo of him flipping the burgers, right? You're like, cheeseburger.
Yeah.
No, it's fun to be part of. I mean, okay, so you've also worked on long title, but you worked on something on Disney Plus. Ready for me to do this title? Okay, High School Musical, the musical, the series.
That's correct.
Did I get it?
That's it. That's the meta title in its entirety.
So you, yeah, because I've interviewed Matt Cornett before, Dara Renee as well. So you work on something like that where they're like obviously different demographic and everything, but these these relationships on screen, right? And seeing the growth of a lot of characters, that one you can see the growth episode after episode. You see a lot in this movie, The Menu, like the arcs are like quick, right? Like really quick.
Pretty fast.
Yeah,
pretty fast.
Yeah. Is that a cool change of pace for you? Is that a cool change of pace for you as an actor though? Like with the arcs?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, feature films, the arc has to happen in this one film, and you get to do everything, and you get to be thinking about where am I? I mean, at the beginning of the movie, I have the biggest, piece of thing you could ever ask for, which is I have very large hands, very large feet, in my character's mind. And by the end of the movie, everything he thought he was confident about has been shaken and disturbed, and he doesn't know, he has no confidence by the end of the movie, and he has to find a new confidence, by the time we get to S'mores.
Yeah, I know, and it's crazy. I mean, I think the first thing too, one of my favorite things about, I can't believe we're calling them the tech bros, but like like the bread, right? I think that's the first part where it's like, give us some bread right now. Do you know who we are? And then it's kind of one of those like, ooh, like,
you're being polite, but you're not really being polite. You're asking, but you're really telling people what to do.
I think that's kind of that's a scene, that bread scene where you guys confront about the bread. That's like the beginning of the end. One could make an argument.
Yeah, that's where, they realize they have no power in the room, and it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because they have power everywhere they go. So
I love this movie. I'm so happy for you and the cast and crew, man. Seriously, congratulations. It's so crazy. And I want to thank you for taking some time and joining me on Popternative. This was so great chatting with you.
It was great chatting with you too, man. Thank you for having me.
No problem. The Menu on Disney Plus in the UK and in Canada and HBO Max in the US. They can check it out right now. Your Instagram account, I believe, is just your name, correct?
It's my name, Mark St.cyr. You can find me there.
They can check it. They got to watch The Menu, and you might or might not. Actually, no, not might or might not. You're going to want a cheeseburger.
You're going to want a cheeseburger. Prepare.
You're going to want a cheeseburger. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Mark St.cyr and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.